Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 16th, 2024, and we are back for another Tuesday tip. For those of you who are new here, hello. Thanks for joining. My name is Pia Miller. I'm an attorney in Northern Virginia, own my own law firm. The link will be in the comment section. And every Tuesday, I come in and talk about a little something random. And that little something random for this week, I want to piggyback off of last week's Tuesday tip. So if you haven't seen what I said last week, go on back in the archives, refresh your recollection. I want to talk about the fact that the Virginia 2024 legislative session is underway, and I'm going to apologize in advance. This is going to be a little bit longer than usual because there are some things I want to flag for you all. Again, if you are not in contact with your local elected officials, so your local delegates and your state senators, you need to be in contact with them. There are a number of pre-bills that have already been filed. There's a number of pieces of legislation that are moving through the process. Things are already getting assigned into committees and subcommittees. Sometimes bills die in committee and then they never make it out. Never see them again until maybe next year's legislative session. So if there is something that you are interested in or something that is intriguing you, you need to be in contact with your elected officials so that you can let them know that these are the policies that you are really concerned about. So some of the things that I personally am following this year, again, we've got notes. If you see me looking down, that's why. So I want to first flag the voting rights issue. So a lot of my former clients, I try to make it a point to tell them this. If you are convicted of a felony within the Commonwealth of Virginia, you lose your right to vote. It is a lifetime loss. In order to regain that right, you do currently have to petition the governor. Once that process is done, though, you are able to vote again. But again, you have to petition the governor in order to get your right to vote back. There have been, over the last few gubernatorial administrations, there have been some hotbed issues around that. We recently had a governor who kind of did a blanket restoration of voting rights. We have a current governor who has an online petition that some people are saying is taking a little bit longer. Some people are being denied and they feel like it's unfair. However, House Joint Resolution number 2, Senate Joint Resolution number 2, currently pending in the 2024 legislative session, is proposing a constitutional amendment that would restore voting rights to those who have been convicted of felonies who have completed their sentences. Currently, Virginia is the only state that removes the right to vote for your entire life if you are in fact convicted of a felony. Restoration should not be something that we think is that political. However, it is. So if this is something that you care about, you want to go ahead and follow those joint resolutions. Again, talk to your elected officials to make sure that we can get those on the ballot. Something else I want to mention. House Bill 159 talks about the use of canines, so dogs, in correctional and juvenile facilities. House Bill 159 would ban the use of canines for patrol or security purposes in any state, local, or juvenile correctional facilities. That does not mean that if they are a canine who is being trained or a drug detection canine that they would automatically not still be allowed, but just to generally have a canine around for security purposes, that bill, that proposed legislation would ban the use of security or patrol canines in state, local, and juvenile facilities. So if that's important to you, why don't you go ahead and follow that. Something else that is currently pending, and I know that the Virginia ACLU, I believe today they are still doing their lobby day around this particular issue. So House Bill 834 and the corresponding bill is Senate Bill 427. That is Virginia's second look bill. Pia, what's a second look bill? Why are we talking about that? Essentially, that allows for people who have been convicted, say they were convicted 30, 40 years ago, when Virginia sentencing guidelines did not exist, when a lot of the transparency in sentencing did not exist, criminal justice reforms did not exist. A lot of things were just very different a long time ago. And because of that, there were some very harsh and disproportionate sentences that were issued for a variety of reasons. We can get into those reasons at another time, but For the purposes of the second look bill, the underlying theme to this is if someone has been sentenced to 30, 40 years, they have been successful in their rehabilitation in the state correctional system, they are going to be allowed to petition the court to say, hey, judge, can you look at my sentence again? If you were sentencing me now in 2024, I would probably get 5 years instead of 35 years. I've done 30 years. Are you willing to reduce my sentence? That's essentially the essence of a second look bill. If you want to dig into that deeper, I strongly encourage you to go on in, take a look, read up on it. And again, if this is something that you support, I strongly encourage you to contact your elected officials and be vocal about your support. You can also contact the Virginia branch of the ACLU because, again, they're doing a lot of work around this particular legislation. Also want to give a couple honorable mentions. There is a pending bill that would raise the state minimum wage. So it would go to $13.50 in 2025, and it would go to $15 in 2026. So that legislation is also currently pending. It came up a couple of years ago. There's what's called a reenactment clause that's necessary, so this is kind of doing that. But again, minimum wage is a big problem here. You know, people, if you cannot afford, particularly in Northern Virginia, if you cannot afford to live here, you, statistically speaking, you are going to probably engage in some activities that you may not have otherwise if you could have gotten a job that would pay you adequately. And that's not to say that $15 is anywhere near sufficient, but it is definitely a good start. Something else that I want to give an honorable mention to, there is another pending House bill that would ban assault firearms here in the Commonwealth. There are certain exceptions for antiques or assault firearms that are not operable firearms. But the essence is we want to try to be on top of really just monitoring and monitoring the use of firearms and ensuring that firearms in the hands of those who really should have them. And wherever you may fall on the political spectrum, those assault weapons, do we really need them? Let's look at having some proper regulations around them. So that legislation has also been proposed. Again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will also put the links to the pending legislation so that you guys can take a look. If you are bored, just go ahead and take a deep dive. And as always, stay warm out there. It's a cold day. We got our first snow in a couple of years. I've seen a lot of video footage this morning of people slipping and sliding on 395 and 495 and 95. Y'all, just slow down, okay? It's not worth it. Again, my name is Pia. Thanks for watching. Come back next Tuesday if you have, if you feel inclined to keep watching my Tuesday tips and watching me ramble about various things. Again, defense attorney in Northern Virginia. I am here to serve and happy to do so. Until then, take care.